know what it is we're showing today?
No idea.
So we're showing the meat, dairy and egg industries, as well as leather, wool, basically all animal products, how the animals are killed, what happens to them, and what does it make you think when you see animals being treated in this way?
It's definitely strange. Like, it's inhumane.
Absolutely, right.
Yeah.
It's unkind. Would you say you personally contribute to this sort of
Probably.
abuse? Yeah.
Probably.
But you admitted earlier that it's cruel, so why do it if it's cruel?
Not exactly sure, to be honest.
Well, maybe habitually, you've done it for a long time.
Probably like normalized.
Absolutely, it is normalised.
Yeah.
And do you think just because something is normalised or we've done it in a habitual manner, do you think that makes it right?
No, definitely not.
If you try and empathise with the animals and what they might be going through, and we realise that we now live in 2023 where we have so many other options, right? We have so many great vegan options and we don't have to do this anymore. The question then becomes, if we don't have to do it, why would we still choose to be cruel? Do you know what we're showing today on the screen?
Is that, how they kill the chickens?
Yeah, not just chickens, we're showing also just the meat industry, egg industry, dairy industries, and all of them. And why do you think this industry keeps on going? What do we do as consumers that mean that it
imposes it.
Yeah.
And just as consumers, consume it.
Absolutely, yeah. Money, right? And that's the way it sort of continues. And what about you? Do you think you personally contribute to this?
Yeah. I was vegetarian for like 2 months.
Nice.
But I came back to eating meat.
Okay.
Yeah.
And why did you go vegetarian? What was did you see, was it footage like this? Or?
Yeah, I saw Cowspiracy.
Yeah.
Seaspiracy.
Yeah,
I saw
absolutely.
those two. So
Okay.
so when I saw the documentaries, I got the images and everything. Like it impacted me like a lot.
Yeah.
And then I guess the images erased in my head.
I see, okay.
So the time passed and I was like, again started to eat meat. Also in my country, this was back where I was living.
Yeah.
And people eat a lot of meat, so it was much easier to...
Cultural kind of thing,
yeah,
absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah.
I understand. And now you're seeing the images again. Are they evoking the same sort of reaction that you initially had when you watched Cowspiracy and Seaspiracy, right?
It's shit.
And it doesn't change just because we, I guess, push it to the back of our mind and don't think about it. It doesn't mean that it's not happening, right?
Agree, totally.
Right.
I think eating meat is okay if it's done like at a small level. Not
The mass
industrial
production,
level.
yeah, sure. Even if we eat meat on, let's say, a smaller, more local farm and we eat less of it, do you think it changes for the animal? Do you think the animal... Because I guess what I'm trying to say is the animal still doesn't want to die, whether it's a big factory farm or a really small one.
Yeah.
The animals have sentience and consciousness and they want to live, right?
Yeah.
So how can it ever be ethical to kill an animal if we've got another choice, even if that animal is killed in a nice way or lives in a nice way?
Yeah.
Can it ever be, if we've got that other choice that we can choose, can it ever be moral?
I don't know, that's a hard question, because...
Well, I guess we've got three options, haven't we? The first option is eating factory farmed animals like this, which we've already established is wrong and cruel, right?
Yeah.
The second is going to what you're saying, I guess the smaller, the more local farms where maybe the animals are killed a little bit better or in a nicer way.
Yeah.
Or the third option is just not to eat them at all.
The obvious answer would be plant-based.
Absolutely, yeah. Because the animals at the end of the day, they don't want to die, and even if you're killing them in a nice way, it's still not the most ethical option, right? And often we're given these terms from the industry like a humane death and a more ethical, more. But we fail to ask, is what we're doing to them objectively ethical when we have the option to not do so, right? And what do you think about that?
To most people, it's also about the flavor.
Absolutely, yeah.
And
taste,
also for health reasons.
Yeah.
For protein shit.
Yeah.
Because they need animal protein. But now, I think there's enough, like science to supply these things. Yeah, I might perhaps think about going back to trying not vegan but vegetarian.
Sure. And do you know the reason why we're here and we're talking? We're campaigning for, I guess, veganism instead of vegetarianism.
Okay.
And the reason is, the milk and the dairy industry
Yeah.
is almost exactly the same as the beef industry, because all the dairy cows
Yeah,
are
they're
sent to a
being,
slaughterhouse and they die.
Yeah.
The only difference is that they go through a prolonged period of abuse beforehand. There isn't much difference, right, between these two things, and the same goes for the egg-laying hens as well, because they only produce the eggs for about the first year of their life. It's only
And then, yeah.
right? It all comes back to, is it profitable? And these things happen on organic farms as well. When you go to the next meal, or you go to the supermarket, or whenever you get your next food, you will have an option, right? You'll have a choice. And with this choice, you can either choose to buy a product that increases suffering for the animal or decreases it, right?
Yeah.
What does it make you feel, and what does it make you think when you see the footage?
It's super sad.
Yeah, it's
like
horrible.
Society is like not aware enough
No.
for things like this.
Yeah, and we've completely devalued their lives. We've reduced them to burgers and ingredients,
like everything.
right?
It's like everywhere. They put it in soaps. They put it everywhere, and it's not even necessary.
And would you say that you personally contribute to these industries and these practices?
I am trying my best to
Nice.
do so.
Are you trying to be vegetarian, vegan, or
I'm veggie.
nice?
I was living vegan 2 years. I'm also Italian. And then
okay.
when I'm visiting my family there, it's like hard to tell them like I cannot eat with this and that and this. So like I'm doing my best. And
Yeah.
like if we eat pizza, then it's sometimes like I say without cheese.
Yeah.
Like it's not that hard.
So maybe it might be beneficial to maybe sit when you're back home with your family, maybe just to sit down with them and say, listen guys, this is the reason, these are the reasons why I'm doing this thing. And
yeah, I did already.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely,
with my
right.
parents
and how did they react?
They understand, and I also was like watching videos with them.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to show them
Absolutely,
like this
good,
is reality.
yeah.
Like even if you don't want to watch it, like this is how it's happening, like all the time.
Yeah.
And the industry is like going 24/7. You know, it's not like they do it like once a year, but like.
So it's happening every day. There are so many victims, and they need us to be speaking up for them.
Yeah.
So
No, it's true.
it's worth it.
I really like how you also like talk to the people.
I mean, we have people who are really. We have farmers that we speak to. We have people who have eaten meat for their whole lives and never even considered anything else.
Yes.
Speaking to somebody like you is a dream, because
sure.
you already
So
know
I'm
this.
open.
You're
Yeah,
open.
yes.
You're open-minded. You've considered these issues before, but a lot of people, it's actually the first time they're ever seeing any of this.
This is so crazy. No?
So you have to go from square one, right? So
yes.
yeah. Do you know what we're showing on the screen?
I think cruelty, animal cruelty.
Yeah.
I know.
So
I'm vegetarian, so I don't like to see
yeah, absolutely.
those pictures.
As well as just cruelty, this is just standard industry practice. So the methods of slaughter that's used to kill cows, pigs, chickens, fish, but also dairy cows and egg-laying hens.
Yeah.
And do you know about the dairy and egg industries? Do you know about what happens? Yeah. What do you know?
But about the cruelty inside of them.
And what happens?
I know the conditions that they live.
Yeah.
That they separate
The calves. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And actually the cruelty.
Yeah.
Of them.
And do you think what happens in the dairy industry is cruel?
Of course they're not.
Would you say then there's actually a difference between dairy products and meat products, in the sense that they both come from a cow who has to die in a slaughterhouse? The only difference is with the dairy industry, the animal's gone through this period of abuse beforehand, right? Where, they get separated and the milk is taken, and this happens again and again and again, right? You always said you're vegetarian. Why did you go vegetarian? Was there something in particular?
From one day to another that I just decided to quit.
Yeah,
eating.
nice.
And, I think that I was motivated because of those things.
Yeah.
I quit meat,
Yeah.
but sometimes I still having it.
Yeah.
And eggs.
So this is again the egg industry. All the male chicks, they don't produce eggs. They don't have the correct body to be made for meat. So they are either, this happens, they get macerated, and this is the first day of their life, because they're worthless. They don't produce enough money, right? So do you think that when you're buying egg products that you are contributing to this?
Of course I'm not. When I buy eggs, I always try to be like
not those that lives in
free range
in
sort of
free range.
things, yeah. Even if you're buying free range or I don't know, organic or more ethical, at the end of
You're
the day,
promoting all of.
they all have to go to the slaughterhouse and they have to be hung upside down, they have to be killed, right? Because all of the industries aren't going to keep these animals when they're no longer making any money. Would you consider veganism? Because I can tell you already know a lot about this. You've understood this before. You've gone vegetarian. What's preventing you from taking that final step and going vegan?
My own self. I just think about what I like,
Yeah.
and then I will have to do an extra effort to
Sure.
skip that, to quit that.
There'll be that transition period, won't there?
I know.
Saying, okay, this usually has milk in it, what can I choose that doesn't have this thing? And it's about finding those alternatives. But once you've found those alternatives, it becomes second nature, right? It becomes more
I know.
much easier, right? So, and what's worth more, would you say, the temporary inconvenience or the animal's whole entire existence?
If I'm not vegan yet, it's for me, just for me.
Yeah, okay.
I know there are, I don't know how to explain it in English because I'm Spanish.
Yes.
So there are some words that I cannot say. But I think if I will try my best,
Cool.
I will get that.
Cool.
Because if I did already that change, I will do the other.
Absolutely. And you've already
about
made the
animals,
hardest change,
yes.
right? You've already gone from eating meat to not having that, and now it's just that final bit. And look,
I think it's the easiest part because
Yeah.
the meat is the normal thing that you eat when you're a child and that you have been taught to eat. And
so the next time maybe you're in the supermarket or a meal, would you then consider maybe the vegan option?
of course, I think I will sleep better because those things.
Yeah,
is,
you really do. That's a really good way of putting it, because you know, there's still so much suffering in the dairy industry. There's still so much suffering in the egg industry, right? And in order to be consistent, which is that, you know, it's not good to be cruel to an animal when we have another option.
Of course.
We have to, you know, be consistent with that, right? So yeah, that's great that you're maybe
and
going
also
to think about
that
it.
it's improving all of these things about vegan products and.
Yeah, in the
Because
supermarket.
people think that we only have to eat leches or those things, and actually I found some products better in vegan.
Oh yeah.
way.
Is this your
My
boyfriend?
boyfriend, but he's not vegan nor vegetarian, but he also tries my recipes.
Yeah, okay.
and those things. So maybe
But when you see animals being treated in this way, what does it make you think and feel?
the easiest way is to just look into another thing, and just
Put it to
tomorrow you will forget it, and you will eat your bistec or your burger. That's
right.
it.
But that doesn't mean the animals aren't suffering, of course.
No, of course. He reduced the amount of meat that he eats
Yeah.
during the week
Okay.
or during the month.
That's great.
So we are on our way. We are trying our
Sure,
best. So we
absolutely.
will see in a couple of months, of days, or maybe of years. But
The thing with reducing is great, but when we just simply decrease the number, we almost change the problem, because what this is at its core, it's a social justice issue about animals, right? And whilst eating less is better, if we think about another social justice issue like racism or dog abuse, right?
I know.
Would we be comfortable if somebody had just reduced the number, or would we be campaigning and want to just end it altogether? Which one would we want?
no, I know that
Yeah,
wouldn't be
absolutely.
enough at all.
Right.
But what I think at this moment is I prefer to be a bad vegan than a perfect meat eater.
Absolutely,
so
right. But we have to make sure that we keep looking at this from the perspective of the victims, right? How does it make you feel when you see animals being treated in this way?
I mean, that's why I also don't eat meat.
Yeah, nice. So are you vegetarian,
I'm
vegan?
vegetarian, but
Nice.
I also try not to eat so many dairy products.
Yeah. Do you know about like the dairy industry and the egg industry and what
It's the
happens?
same, right? I mean, it's
Pretty
basically
much,
the same
yeah.
as meat.
All dairy cows end up in a slaughterhouse because after about 5 years they don't produce enough milk anymore to be profitable. And the same with egg-laying hens, because they only lay enough to be profitable for the first year of their life. So they basically end up in the same slaughterhouses, being killed in the same way. There's no difference.
you became vegan?
Yes, I've been vegan for about 2 years.
okay.
Yeah, and now I do some like activism like this.
Nice, that's really cool.
Would you consider maybe veganism? That's something that you'd be interested
Yeah,
in?
but I mean, for me, I just try to do it sometimes, but I'm not always like so strict, and I
Sure.
think it's okay. Like it's okay sometimes to not be so strict.
Sure, absolutely,
Because I already
yeah.
like make restrictions to myself in other areas of the life. So
I
in some
understand, yeah.
areas, you have to like,
Yeah,
be a
absolutely.
bit more free. But
Yeah.
I understand the problem.
And do you think maybe in the future, maybe when you have these fewer restrictions, you could be interested in maybe going vegan?
Yeah.
Yeah, nice, cool, yeah. Listen, I'll give you some, I mean, you've probably seen a lot of this before, but if you're interested in the dairy industry more and finding out what happens, then Earthling Ed's really good. He's got some really good speeches online. Sometimes veganism, vegetarianism can be seen as kind of restricted, but hopefully we're trending in a direction where it will no longer have to be so restricted because, you know, the products are getting better in the supermarket and the alternatives. So hopefully we'll soon be near to a time where it will just be very normal, hopefully.
That would be great.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that time.
Me too, yeah.
Also, my parents were like, I hope it's just a phase, but I mean, it's like 13 years now. So.
Yeah. I think it's a shame that often veganism gets labelled or vegetarianism gets labelled as this phase because it puts it in the same group as something like, you know, like a special diet, like a teenager phase. But being what veganism is fundamentally is if you have the option to not harm an animal, take that option, right? And it's a shame that often the media has lumped it into this idea that it's just this phase, like, you know, you see it in Vogue magazine and your celebrity does it and it's like,
It's not like a trend. I mean, it is a trend at the moment, but that's not it. I mean,
it goes deeper
so
than
much
that.
more,
Yeah, absolutely.
But I wish like that some people like in the supermarkets they should see like, okay, you have to like slaughter the animal yourself, but then you know like how they like you buy this, so they also do it. You know? Like,
Yeah, imagine if people actually had to do it
go to the
themselves,
supermarket
right?
and then slaughter
Yeah.
the cows and all that.
I think we'd have a lot more vegans. I think it's safe to say that. Yeah.
Afford it, I guess.
Yeah. Well, there was a really interesting study that said in high-income countries like Germany and the UK, where I'm from, a plant-based diet can actually reduce your weekly food costs by up to a third, and it kind of makes sense because if you think like if you're going to the supermarket, you can buy like the specialty fake meats and all of this, like you can be an expensive vegan, but actually the basics of plant-based eating include are fruits, veggies, canned goods, legumes, beans, pasta, bread, these sort of things, and they're all often the cheapest items. So again, that's a stereotype that we kind of have to bust and get rid of because it's actually not true.
But it's also
The reason meat and dairy is so cheap is because of the tax subsidies that the government pays to the farmers. So the only reason why the meat, dairy and egg industries are profitable at the moment is because we prop it up with our taxes and we're paying for it through that. And actually the industries wouldn't be nearly as profitable and they wouldn't be able to drive the prices of the products down so low. I mean, the fact that you can go into McDonald's and you can get like a burger for like €1 or I don't know, it used to be that, now it's probably more, but it's crazy that we've reduced life to such a low level, right? But the only reason we can do that is because we already subsidize these farmers through our taxes.
but we also pay taxes on the plant-based.
Not nearly as much.
I hope there will just be plants in the future.
Well, I tell you, a lot of the world's problems would be helped to be resolved because it's a whole network of suffering.
Also the pollution, right?
Oh,
Like
absolutely.
CO2.
Yeah. Methane, CO2, biodiversity loss, pandemic risk, antibiotic resistance, all of these things are networked in with these industries. They are, and also the amount of land. The statistic is we would free up 75% of the world's agricultural land if everybody shifted to a vegan diet, because we have vast swathes of the Earth's land used to graze animals and grow food for them, and it's completely an inefficient use of resources.
Like how do you?
Yeah.
Like you also take supplements.
Yeah. So B12 is important to supplement. I mean, most of the B12 actually gets injected into livestock animals in the first place. So in a way, you're kind of already supplementing one way or another, whether you take a small supplement like in a pill form or the animal, because they've been supplemented too.
But they have it, I mean, why they put it in them? It's natural.
Well, it would be if they were actually being grazed on natural soils, but the majority of them aren't. The majority are in intensive systems. But even then, you know, if it's just taking a supplement versus this, I know what I would choose every day, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, great work. I hope
Thank you.
can convince more people.
Well, we're here, we're trying.
What's your name?
Olivia.
Olivia, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.